Alright, good morning, people of YouTube. So we're back again today with a super fun deck profile. This is going to be the first deck profile we're doing for Bt6. Today we have Eosmon. So this is a deck that I'm kind of excited for. I saw Eosmon level 5 and was like, man, this is a really neat card. It kind of breaks the mechanics of the game by being able to include up to 50 copies of it in your deck. When the standard limit is 4. That's really nice. So, we're going to get into this a little bit. We'll start off with the Eosmon, mainly. The main reason you'd want to play more than 4 of this in your deck is for its when attacking effect. It says, you may play 1 level 5 or lower Eosmon from your hand without paying its memory cost. So, the main thing that this deck is supposed to do is you get an Eosmon in play, you swing with it, to get another Eosmon. If your first Eosmon doesn't lift security check, fine, whatever. You got another Eosmon in play. And so you use your Eosmon to keep getting more Eosmon. And then you use your option cards to control your opponent's board while you're chipping away at security with these Eosmon. And that's the name of the game. It's kind of like Rookie Rush meets security control, in the way that it's just hard dropping dudes and controlling, but you're also sort of rushing at your opponent. So it's a unique deck, to say the least, and it's something I definitely want to test with. It's definitely not going to be a tier 1 deck, and that's the general consensus for a lot of the community, but I think it can actually do well once people kind of figure it out. Like, once this deck is solved, I think it's going to be a contender. Or at least, take a couple tournaments, tournament like top 8s, just because people won't know what this deck is supposed to do. So, I'm playing 28 of this Eosmon, and I think around 3/5 of your deck should be this card. I've been testing this just a little bit, and the more Eosmon in your hand, the better, because you don't want to swing unless you can activate that effect. Because you don't want to risk losing a body for nothing. So, you do want to have a lot of Eosmon in your hand, and, that's why I play 28 of them. So, the egg that I'm playing is Poromon. So, I think having a red egg is the most beneficial because there's a couple red options that you do really want to be playing. But you also want to have a red rookie so that you can cycle and draw. And ideally, we get 4 of this Guilmon whenever it comes out. This card has a win attacking draw 1, which is insane for red. Like, red typically didn't have a lot of draw power. And so what this allows you to do is it allows you to evolve on top of your level 2 to get a cycle. And then whenever you attack with this card, you chip another security and you get another cycle. So, getting more draws to have more Eosmon in your hand, to play more Eosmon whenever you swing, is always beneficial. So the egg that I am deciding to play is the Poromon because it has the effect that's the most likely to be useful. There are a bunch of 1,000 dudes in the format with Starmons. I'm struggling to think of some of the other ones. The Drabumon, but there are a couple. Every deck plays or not every deck, but some decks play a few, so at least Poromon has a chance of going off. But mostly you want the red egg, so that you have access to cards, or to some of your big red options. I don't know what just happened there. I moved this around. Alright. So, you can play other eggs, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later, but I'm opting for the red one because it does give you the consistent draw. Now, for the level 6 Eosmon, I think this card is bait. Like, this card is not as good as people think it is. Like, when players say a card is bait, what they mean is you read it, and it's designed to entice less experienced players into playing them by seeming good on the surface, but in testing being either very situational or very underwhelming. And I feel like this Eosmon is one of those cards. I wouldn't play it at more than 1 or 2 of. But it does give you spot removal, and it does give you the option to swing over bigger cards, which can be nice sometimes. So I think testing it as a one or two of is fine, but ultimately this is a card I see myself cutting for more consistent cards. I just want to try it, at least once. This Tamer, though, is where it's at. Minoa Bellucci. I don't speak Italian, but I think that's what it says. It's one of them generic memory tamers. If you have 2 or less, you go to 3. But when you play an Eosmon, you can suspend this card to reveal the top 3 cards, add a Tamer or an Eosmon, and put them into your hand. So this card is amazing. Not only does, it serve the purpose of being a generic memory tamer, but it gets you more Eosmon whenever you attack with your Eosmon and play another copy. So that's amazing. This is what you want to have in play very, very quickly. If you can see this early, the earlier the better for this card. Going down. See, this is a lot of Eosmon. Alright, now we're getting into some of the options that finish off the deck, because most of this deck is just Eosmon. But first, the last tamer that we are playing is 2 copies of Izzy and Joe. This is one of those ones that is the dual tamers that boost you by 2 at the start of your turn if you fulfill a specific condition. In my opinion, this is one of the easier ones to activate. It says if your opponent has 2 or more Digimon in play, just gain 2 memory at the start of your turn. That's great. Its other effect isn't useful because you aren't playing black Digimon. However, this does serve the purpose of being a black card in play, which will let you use your black options. So, absolutely love Izzy and Joe. And you can kind of cheat it into play for free with Trident Revolver, along with Minoa. So the red eggs is mainly for this card. People say Gaia Force is the best option in red, and in my opinion, they're sleeping on Trident Revolver. Trident Revolver says you delete a Digimon in play with 6,000 DP or less, and then you play a Tamer card from your hand with that's 4 cost or less without paying its memory. So it doesn't specify red. You can play the Izzy and Joe, you can play the Minoa off of this, and you can pop a blocker. That's nuts. This is what you want to be playing a lot of the time to get your Tamers in play for free. And, if they play something like Mechanorimon or, a Grizzly or any of them 6k blockers and you don't want to swing with your Eos or you don't have another Eos in play, you can Trident Revolver pop, or another Eos in your hand, you can Trident Revolver pop their blocker, drop a Tamer that you have, and then wait until your next turn and maybe either promote a Guilmon and draw another card off of that swinging, and try to get the Eosmon in your hand. This card is one of the cards that allows you to maintain board state while you're building up your Eosmon army. So, we have the 4 Gaia Force, obviously. It's red. You gotta play the 4 Gaia Force in a deck like this. This is gonna be your out to big cards. And Bond of Friendship, Bond of Courage, the big red and blue Gabu Agu Bond decks are gonna be running around like crazy. Gaia Force, if they hit it in security, that sucks for them. So, it's one of those cards that will swing the game in your favor, and your security is meant to either be Eosmon or these options, and this is the kind of variable. But, most importantly, your turn will either end by you playing an Eosmon or you playing an option card to delete something your opponent has in play. So, Gaia Force is a good one for that. I am playing a single copy of Happy Bullet Showering. I almost want to play more copies of this card, but I feel like Ultimate Flare might do this job better. I have no idea, but it's something I want to test. This card says delete all of your opponent's Digimon in play with the lowest DP. This is a great addition to Red and Bt6. This is an amazing card that we get access to now, and it gives Red an out to things like Rookie Rush. If they have a bunch of Digimon in play that are the 2 cost 5Ks and those are the only guys they have out, this will blow them all up. It is a little bit situational, but even if they only have one guy in play, this will still delete it. So it can be a 5th Gaia Force, and it's it's definitely worth playing in a deck like this. Speaking of cards that basically function as an extra Gaia Force, we have Iron Fisted Onslaught. I was just calling this Super Iron Fisting when I was describing it because I could never remember the name, but I will try to remember that for the viewers at home. This card says delete all of your opponent's Digimon in play with the highest play cost. So what this will do is, again, if they only have one dude in play, it'll delete it. But typically what this will do is it will delete their biggest Digimon, and that's always nice. Again, this is a good option in Bt6, and we'll see security control on the rise, specifically because of this card and like Wyvern's Breath. And I guess Happy Bullet Showering, because I didn't even think about playing that card in security control, but I might try it. And then the last card in the deck is Ultimate Flare. So I am playing 3 copies of this card over more copies of the Iron Fisted Onslaught for a couple of reasons. One, Black Royal Knights is going to be a deck, and Craniumon is a card that this deck struggles to deal with. Ultimate Flare deals with Craniumon. So you have that at your disposal, and plus, this will kind of take care of Rookie Rush. Again, the only cards that they have in that deck that, like, survive this card are the Terurimon if they hard play it, the Salamon, and Bushiagumon if they are playing that card. But yeah, no, Ultimate Flare is generically amazing. This will take care of big stacks. If Agubond or Gabubond run into it in security, it still deals with them. And this is just the card that you want to be seeing. So that's the deck. Everything in this deck is either designed to take cards off of my opponent's board while I set up my Eosmon army, or to further establish the Eosmon army, or Guilmon to draw more cards, which is just a great addition. If you're playing a deck like Security Control and you play Red Eggs, or if you're playing any deck that you just want to play red options in and you play Red Eggs, Guilmon might be the 4 of Rookie that you play just to get more card draw. This card is that good, and I really, really want to pick up 4 of it on the set release. So I'm going to go into some cards that you could be playing in this deck as well as some other bait. Speaking of bait, this is one of the main cards that I'm probably going to be asked about, and it's Cutting Edge. So I feel like this card was really, really good when I first read it. And then the more I read it, the worse I realized it was. It's very, very situational. Almost every time, Trident Revolver is going to be more consistent than this. This card will be sitting in your hand dead a lot if you decide to play more than 1 or 2 copies. And I was considering playing it as like a 1 or a 2 of. But ultimately, like the Iron Fisted Onslaught, the Happy Bullet Showering, even cards like Red Reamer would be better options in my opinion. Red Reamer is a card that I could have played. It kind of reminds me of a cross between like Trident Revolver and Plasma Stake. It's a 4 cost that says delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 6,000 DP or less, and then if your opponent has 3 or more Digimon in play, you delete something that's 13k or less instead. So that's a really, really cool effect. And it does have the chance of deleting like a level 7 or lower in some cases. But I feel like if you're going for the 6,000 DP or less threshold, then Trident Revolver is better, or even more copies of Happy Bullet Showering would be a better option. I have the tie here. Not only will it boost your Eosmon, but it if you don't want to play the Red Eggs, if you want to play like the Yellow Eggs or something, you're going to need a Red Tamer. And I feel like tie would be the best option. It will allow your Eosmon to swing over pretty much every blocker in the game. And, you know, it'll unlock that red color for you so you can drop those Gaia Forces and Trident Revolvers from hand. I'm not playing the level 4 Eosmon as well. I also think this card is bait. Oh no, this is level 5 Eosmon. I put the wrong one in on accident. The level 4 Eosmon is an on-play. You get to play a level 4 or lower white Tamer from your hand, and your opponent gets to do the same. So it's like designed to drop the Manoa. But on the off chance that your opponent does have the Tamer in their hand, I don't like giving them that value. I don't think it's worth including for that reason. So that's why I don't play the level 4 Eosmon. Morphomon is a card you could play. It adds consistency to the deck. I feel like Guilmon adds more consistency, or at least the same amount. And the green options that you could be playing are basically just Needle Spray, which is why I'm electing to play the red babies instead of the green ones. But Needle Spray is a great card. It'll still suspend cards like Mechanori and other blockers. It'll take care of Craniumon for a little bit. So that's nice. But Morphomon is an on-deletion skill, which I feel like is generally less consistent than just a basic win attacking. But this card says, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, add 1 Manoa and 1 Digimon with Eosmon in its name among them to your hand, and put the remaining cards on the bottom. So, that is nice. If you are playing a green egg to play the Morphomon, I would suggest the Mino. The Mino at least let you trade with, like, 2k rookies, which doesn't sound useful, but none of the other green eggs would be useful under Morphomon, so I feel like this is the best one you got if you're going to go with the green egg route. But again, if you're doing that, the only option you're really unlocking is cards like Needle Spray, cards like Flower Cannon, and I don't know if that's worth it. So if you want to play yellow eggs, I still think Upamon and Salamon is probably the best. But if you don't want to play yellow eggs and you want access to yellow options, these Tamers are what you got. You got the 2-cost TK from the starter deck, which will give your security Digimon plus 2k. Make the Eosmon 8k in security. If you play 2 of them, they go to 10k in security, which could be fun. And, it's a 2-cost Tamer that unlocks yellow. But you also have the 3-cost tie from Bt6, which says if you have 3 or fewer security, all of your Digimon get plus 1k. And if an opponent's Digimon is deleted by dropping to 0 DP, you can suspend this Tamer to gain 1 memory. So that could be a lot of fun if you combine it with cards like Wyvern's Breath, which just says one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 15k. This and the Iron Fisted Onslaught are the main cards that like Security Control got, and Eosmon can definitely make use of these as well. In my original build of this, I did have yellow in it, but I took the yellow cards out to make room for more of the Ultimate Flares and some of the more new additions to the red options. But Wyvern's Breath is a great card to kind of balance out yellow as a color, because yellow had good Digimon, but it didn't really have some of the best options aside from Spiral Masquerade and Blinding Ray. But now we have cards like Wyvern's Breath and Reinforcing Memory Boost. And this card is like Holy Wave, except it doesn't activate from security except for getting the delay effect later. But it lets you look at the top 2 cards and then put 1 in security and 1 in your hand, which is absolutely nuts. So if you reveal 2 cards, you got an Eosmon and a card that triggers in security, that's a pretty easy choice. And, it can add some great consistency to this deck. Something I want to talk about is the blue support, too, because in EX1 we get Ice Wall, or I don't know if that's exactly what it's called, but it's the 1-cost option that's blue that says all Digimon gain when attacking lose 2 memory until the end of your opponent's next turn. So that's a great card to end your turn on. It'll oftentimes make it so that if your opponent wants to swing, they pass over back to you, and then you can swing with your Eosmon again. That's an amazing card, and will probably be one of the best options in the game. And it'll be worth including blue in a deck like this just to play it. But we have other good cards in blue as well. Like, we have Cactus Breath, we have the Howling Memory Boost, which will which is one of the only memory boosts we'll have access to right out of the gate in North America because we don't have the starter decks yet. And it makes it so that something can't attack or block, so that's always fun. Plus, on the delay, it gives you 2 memory. We always have cards like Aqua Viper, which will let you bounce an Eosmon back to your hand to put 2 level 4 or lower cards back to your opponent's hand, and then you can swing with an Eosmon and play that same Eosmon again. That's always fun. So I think Aqua Viper in a deck like this would be low-key kind of broken. And I'm sure I will be messing with that at some point. But yeah, as far as the Tamers go to activate these colors, we have the mat from the starter deck that says if your opponent has a Digimon in play with no Digivolution cards, gain a memory. It'd be useful if they just hard drop blockers against you, or if you're playing against like a zoo type deck. But the Tamers for blue are going to be less consistent to activate. Just because they rely on your opponent having no Digivolution cards, and you don't really have ways to remove them yourself because you're playing Eosmon. But yeah, those are some of the cards I could think of that I would consider testing in a deck like this. And again, here's the list. We'll go ahead and minimize this so you can get a good picture if you want. The ye old screenshot. I think that's good. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, what you guys are playing for Eosmon, and what other decks you want to see me profile for Bt6. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.